My name is Brian Reaume, artist. I do installation art, abstract art, nature art, found objects, restore furniture, things like that. I am a father. Thaddeus is just a little over 2 years old. I do have a fiance. His name is KC, and live in Great Columbus, Ohio. The idea of Columbus for me was a stopping point to New York. I wanted to just stay here for a year. I was going to live with my brother for a year and go to New York, and I really became intrigued with the city. I like the city. I moved here from Detroit. I lost the appreciation for it. So coming to Columbus, I stayed here for a year. I decided to stay longer. That was in 2000. So I loved coming here and finding all the opportunity. You know, I mean, the first shows that I hung up were extremely well received. When I had gone to Louisiana, I had hung my first show, and I came back and everything was sold. It gave me a lot of hope. So I just continued from there. I mean, the city's been extremely good to me. The people have been very responsive. My work has changed tremendously. Sometimes I look at my first work and I'm like, oh shit. But I can honestly say that even in the beginning, it was about emotion. It was about working something out. It was about these characters popping into my head, not fighting them anymore and allowing their voices. And I did the best I could do at that time. For me, I find it intriguing to take these elements of traditional beauty. You know, when something's constructed and it's new and it's all glittering, but then 30 years later, it starts to show the age, and that's when I start to love it. When it starts to show this aspect of what our human condition is, what the condition of everything is, and that's time. So I like the idea of taking something that maybe somebody doesn't think is traditionally beautiful and bringing it into their space, because I think we as human beings, we fight really hard to make this this aesthetic space that we think it is a bubble and we're not going to age inside. So I like the idea of taking examples of time and of age and bringing it into your space and facing that reality every day, but then also becoming comfortable with the idea that you're moving along, time is moving along with you. I like I like to create work that I can't say is timeless, but I like to create work that has that feeling, that sense of transition. I want that continuum. I want there to always be a movement of life. I don't want the paintings to be stagnant. So I want them to move beyond their boundary. As I was saying with color, you know, I spent a lot of time on the back color here because, you know, I can't cheat these layers. Like underneath here, you know, initially you're going to see the blue, you'll see the black, maybe some of the deeper reds and the oranges and stuff, but then you're going to go in and your eye eventually is going to start looking for these greens, some of the ochre, some of the other yellows, the grays, moments of white, the lines that I've created. I want the eye to dance with this. You know what I mean? There are moments where it's gonna be fixated, but it's gonna move, and that's I want them to become partners. They need to move with each other. One of my biggest things with my artwork is that I do not like to cheat the viewer. So with my paintings, I spend a lot of time on the backstory. I mean, I could spend hours and hours just creating something that 98% of it will be covered up, because within the trick of the eye, you know, if somebody looks at a painting and they're like, I like that red, or I like that blue, or whatever it's going to be, that to me is a trick. That's what initially draws them. But if it's only that layer, then eventually they're going to become tired. I think that's one of my pet peeves about some abstract artists, is that they take the easy road. You know, it's about you know, yellow and blue can look really great together, which is great if you just have a purely aesthetic piece. And I do purely aesthetic pieces. It's like, that's fine, you know. But I don't bullshit people about that. I'm like, this is purely aesthetic. This is for, you know, this is for your dining room. This is for above your sofa. It's going to enhance your environment, but it doesn't really have a story for you. I don't have a story for you. The idea that if you're gonna buy something like this, if it attracts you, it's going to start a conversation rather than going to Target and buying, you know, what are you going to buy there? And there's some print that's been reproduced, you know, 100,000 times. It's wallpaper, you know, it's not really a conversation. At some point, whether you're going to be 25, 30, you're 20 years old, the realization that you need to invest in your environment. Your environment is important. It's the first thing you see when you wake up. It's the last thing you see when you go to bed. It's your environment. That environment should be something that motivates you, propels you, something that makes you want to have people over, not just look at on a computer screen. You want to have people in your environment because you're proud of it, because you've worked on it. It's comfortable for you. You make it comfortable for other people. There are investments, and that goes along with music and visual arts, because it doesn't have to center around the television. Conversation doesn't have to be about what happened on such and such a show last night, what's going to happen next week. It can be on the artist that's playing on the iPod and CD player in the background while you're talking about your visual art in your space. I mean, there are other ways around conversation. My website is birchwaterstudios.com. I will be hanging at Sage American Bistro in Clintonville on March 4th. I have new work in there. The current work is at Salon Hotel Lily in Short North. And that's about as far as I have right now.
Thank you so much.
That's that.
That was awesome.